What's up, everybody? Welcome back. We're here. It's time for bold predictions. Andy Backstrom, Tim May. I flipped a coin. I didn't really flip a coin. I'm just going to pick one of you guys. Andy, what's your bold prediction on this Ohio State cornerbacks room?
Yeah, I feel like I have to talk about takeaways because I just, in the last video, talked about it. I'm going to go with the group stat. So if you guys got individual stats, that's cool. But I'm going to say the cornerbacks will combine for, let's say, 14 takeaways, which is a lot. And I'm not saying just interceptions. That can be forced fumbles as well. And look, that is a lot. But this is a bold prediction video. And you kind of need to be in those spots. We're talking about a longer season here. If Ohio State does everything that they want to do, that's going to be 16 games worth of play. And, maybe that's 5 interceptions for Jordan Hancock, 3 for Denzel Burke, and, 3 for Davison Igbinosun. And then you factor in some forced fumbles here and there, and you get to 14. I just think they need significantly more production in terms of havoc creation from that group. They've been really good as far as coverage goes, but you need more than that. You need to take the ball away. You need to help the offense. And I think with an offense that is going to be more explosive than last year, there's going to be a little bit more opportunity to take risks. Maybe like you're not playing as safe to just try to protect a one-score lead. You can take more chances.
I like that, Andy. One thing I will say is the Ohio State backups against, let's just say, like a Western Michigan backup quarterback, and Marshall's backup quarterback could really help you get to that number, because we saw the Western Kentucky backup quarterback last year throw one directly to Jermaine Matthews' chest. Yeah. So those takeaways can all add up. And I know the first team unit needs to be better at takeaways, but also that second team unit could help you out quite a bit. Aaron Scott Jr. is a good young player. Calvin Simpson-Hunt, Jermaine Matthews, like those guys are going to get a lot of reps. And so maybe they'll have a few of those takeaways and help you get to that number. But I'm going to hold you accountable on that one, Andy. That's a good, bold prediction. I'm proud of you for that one. Tim, let's hear it.
I think this is a bold prediction, but it's based more on people voting or polling or whatever you want to call it. But I do believe when I look at these two corners, I think the two best corners in the Big Ten are Denzel Burke and Davison Igbinosun, because I think Igbinosun is truly going to come into his own this season. He is such a physical presence out there. I like the way he stepped up as the walking, talking encyclopedia. I sound like an Englishman. Aluminium. As a walking, talking encyclopedia, Andy Backstrom pointed out, he was targeted a lot, and he basically said, bring it on. So I like for Denzel Burke and Davison Igbinosun to both be voted either on both teams or at least one team, or one on one team and one on the other, as all Big Ten first-team cornerbacks.
Yeah, Tim, the Michigan fans are coming for you because Will Johnson's a really good player.
Yeah, he's a really good player. I like these two guys. Denzel Burke, I like these two guys, is what I'm trying to say.
The Oregon fans are going to come for you as well, because Jabbar Muhammad's a really good player from Washington a year ago now at Oregon. The Iowa fans are going to come at you because Iowa's got some good corners.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so just be ready, Tim. If anyone non-Ohio State's watching this video, they might come
They better be good on defense because their offense stinks, but go ahead
now. Yeah, you guys, two really good predictions there. I'm going to make a little bit of a long-term prediction more than this season in particular. I think Davison Igbinosun, this is not me saying that he's going to have a bad year by any stretch. I actually think he's going to have a fantastic year. I think Davison Igbinosun is going to set the tone for 2025 by having a good year this year and returning for his senior season. I think he's going to be really good, but I think, Denzel Burke's already a household name. He's already working himself into those first 2 rounds of those mock drafts to where scouts and personnel and people already know who he is. Davison Igbinosun kind of flying a little more under that radar. I think he still could be the highest drafted corner of all of these guys in this room right now, but I think it might come a year later after he already puts himself on the map as a junior, returns as a senior, and then goes to the NFL draft and makes a name for himself as a really high-level draft pick. And I think that opportunity will come to him after a really good, strong 2024. So my pick is that Davison Igbinosun returns for a senior season after a really good junior year, and he kind of sets the tone for that 2025 defense along with Caleb Downs and a couple of those younger guys.
Interesting.
Andy, What do you think about that, Andy?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we just could see a huge exodus of talent. So anyone that comes back that can next year is going to be really intriguing. First of all, why? Was it an injury? Was it just lack of production? Was it just a desire to continue to develop NIL? There's so many more factors, I feel like, nowadays of why players could come back. I would be really intrigued if that's the case, and that's totally possible. Who knows with Davison, but all those guys that could potentially come back, it's going to be interesting to watch. But Jermaine Matthews, we didn't mention for any of these. I'm just going to throw out a wild card kind of.
And wait a minute, a bonus pick. Go ahead.
I'm going to say he plays 450 defensive snaps this year. He played like 192 last year. I think Tim Walton's going to find a way to get him on the field. And I know sometimes, Jim Knowles will create a role for him, and sometimes we don't see, like, whether it's CJ Hicks or Mitchell Melton, like maybe we don't see the player as much as that we think we will. I think Jermaine Matthews, they're going to hold up to their word with that. Like he's going to play football, a lot of football for Ohio State this year. He's not going to start barring injury, but like I think he's going to be a fixture of the cornerback group. I think it's really going to be a group of 4 when you talk about the premier cornerbacks at Ohio State, and I think they're going to find a way to get him on the field early and often.
Yeah, if you take Ryan Day and Tim Walton and these coaches at their word, they're going to play a lot of guys a lot this year because they want to be as healthy as possible going into the postseason, whenever that postseason begins, whether it's a Big Ten championship game or maybe 3 weeks later in a group of 12 game, because they're definitely planning on a 16-game season. Plus, let's face it, Jermaine Matthews deserves to play a lot. I mean, deserves to play some. And when you throw those numbers out there, like you just said, if we're talking about over 16 games, that's not as big a number as you think about, as opposed to 13 games. So I absolutely see where you're coming from there, Andy. And but they owe it to Calvin Simpson-Hunt and Jermaine Matthews to get them on the field, and perhaps the backup slot cornerback. And so that makes a lot of sense to me. So I will endorse that prediction.
And the bottom line,
bold prediction. Go ahead.
The bottom line here is, like Andy said, there could be a mass exodus on this team. Jermaine Matthews has to be ready to play a massive role in the 2025 defense. It's not like you just have these high expectations in 2024 and everybody's like, all right, 2025, we're going to go 8-4. It's going to be okay. Like, the same expectations that are on 2024 are going to be on 2025 because they were there in 23 and 22 and 20 or 21 and 20, all the way back from 18.
I was going to wonder how far you were going to count back there.
All the way back to 1890 something when they were playing the Grove City YMCA. This program has had expectations that are win a national championship. So what I'm saying here is Jermaine Matthews could very well be the starting nickel instead of a starting outside corner in 2025. Who's to say Davison Igbinosun doesn't return? Devin Sanchez, who is the defensive.
You said Davison Igbinosun will return.
Devin Sanchez, who's the defensive version of Jeremiah Smith, the way that the defensive coach staff talks about him as a potential true freshman. Like, who's to say those guys aren't the starters? And Jermaine Matthews is the starting nickel. He's got to get those reps, Andy. And so, it's not just subbing him in for Denzel Burke or for Davison Igbinosun. It's getting him in there for Jordan Hancock when you don't necessarily need to see number 7 on the field all the time. Like, I love that pick, and I think Jermaine's going to play a lot. Wrote about him a little bit on Tuesday. I think we'll have more content on him throughout the week as we wrap up Cornerbacks Week here. But this is we're putting the nail in the coffin here on these position weeks. One of my favorite parts of the entire year is going through all 9 position groups. I know special teams were kind of just lump into a little weekend action here. But going through all these position groups, learning more about them one by one each week in the summer to prepare everybody, not just us, but fans. We want more educated fans in the Ohio State fan base, and I feel like Position Weeks did that. I think you guys did a fantastic job this summer, giving the fans a little insight into all of these rooms. But now we're here. Big Ten Media Days is upon us. We're going to do a video on Monday just about what we're going to hear at Big Ten Media Days. We'll talk, who's going to be there, what they're going to say, what they're not going to say, what we want to find out. But that's all coming on Monday. Make sure you guys stay tuned to the Lettermen Row YouTube channel. Andy Backstrom's in the middle of your screen breaking it all down there. He's over at lettermenrow.com breaking it down there as well. Tim May, the 41-year vet, his content resides with Lettermen Row. And then me, Spencer Holbrook. Finally, it's here. The preseason is officially here. We're heading to Indy for Big Ten Media Days. Until then, go to lettermenrow.com. Get all of that coverage. I promise you won't regret it.